So, having recently bought the Sony a6700 to level up my content creation and photography, it was time to get some new glasses for the camera to get the best out of it. These are my top picks for lenses in the following categories. 1, the everyday lens. Number 2, the YouTube talking head lens. Number 3, telephoto. Number 4, the nifty-fifty. Number 5, the tasty pancake lens. 6, an ultra wide. And 7, the perfect portrait lens. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of me. You can also now become a channel member or use the super thanks if you want to buy me a beer. And if this video has spurred you to buy one of these lenses, consider using my links in the description. It won't cost you anything extra, but I might get a small commission, which will go a very, very long way to supporting the channel. Thank you very much. So the first lens is the everyday lens, which is a zoom lens that basically stays on your camera roughly 80 or so percent of the time. If I'm heading out and I've only got space for one lens on the camera to come with me, this is it. I wanted a lens that would start off fairly wide, around 24mm full frame equivalent, and zoom to a kind of portraity focal length of roughly 85mm in full frame. I wanted as fast an aperture as possible, and there were three main lenses to choose from that had an aperture of f2.8. But recently, another has been released with an aperture of f1.8. The lower the aperture number, the better the versatility of the lens for low light. The hole that lets light in just gets bigger. The other benefit is a shallower depth of field, meaning that you can isolate your subject better from the background for better portraits and get more bokeh or blurry backgrounds. The size wasn't the biggest concern, but nevertheless still important to me as I don't want something that I can't use with my hands. So there are four main lenses that I had to decide from. Two from Sigma, one from Tamron, and one from Sony themselves. These are the 16 to 55mm Sony f2.8G, the Tamron 70 to 70mm f2.8, the Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8, and the newly released Sigma 17 to 40 f1.8 art lens. The first to fall out of consideration was the Tamron 17 to 70mm f2.8. This is the largest and the heaviest of the three f2.8 lenses. It has a full frame equivalent of 25.5 to 105mm, so not quite as wide as the 24mm, but close. It did cover the portrait end going all the way through to 105mm though. I never got hands-on with this lens, but watching all the YouTube reviews of it against the other lenses, I came to the conclusion that it was the least sharp of the three f2.8 lenses and had the least best autofocus of the three. I didn't say worst because it doesn't seem to be bad, it's just not as good as Sony or Sigma's. The next to fall off the list was the Sigma 17 to 40 f1.8 art lens. Now this lens would probably yield the highest quality results out of all four given its faster aperture, but the focal range just wasn't as wide or as long as I was looking for on a daily basis. At 60mm full frame equivalent, it's giving up 45mm on the long end to the Tamron and 22.5mm to the Sony. On the wide end, you'd be surprised that going from 16mm on the Sony to 17mm on the Sigma actually does make a difference, and sometimes you just can't step back another couple of feet where you can crop into the long end if you need to. The nice thing about this lens is that it has an internal zoom though, so if I was using a gimbal, the fact that I could zoom without having to rebalance the gimbal would be great. But guess what? I don't own a gimbal, and honestly, I have no plans to get one. So the Sigma 17 to 40 was out. I really wanted to love the Sigma 18 to 50mm because compared to the other lenses, it is tiny and also close to half the cost. It's also raved about all over YouTube as the best everyday lens to put on your camera. I was lucky enough to be able to borrow one for a while to have a play with it. It's not quite as wide at 18mm or 27mm in full frame equivalent, or as long 50mm or 75 in full frame equivalent as I was looking for, but given the size and cost, I think I could have looked past that if it weren't for the autofocus. Now, maybe I'm just not a good photographer. I am still learning the craft after all, but around 3 to 4 out of 10 shots that I was taking with the Sigma were soft. When comparing it to using the Sony lens, I'm literally on average getting 9 out of 10 of my photos pin sharp with the Sony. So in the end, I went for the Sony. Yes, it's expensive, and yes, it's bigger than the 18 to 50 Sigma, but it covers the entire focal range that I was ideally looking for, 24mm to 82.5mm in full frame equivalent, and Almost every photo comes out super sharp with this lens. It has an AF/MF switch and a focus hold button that the Sigma just doesn't have, and the 18-50 just lacks. And this lens is built like a tank. I've taken the view that I won't be changing this lens for a very, very long time, so better to buy once and cry once, especially after being disappointed by the Sigma. So the next is the YouTube talking head slash studio lens. So my favorite lens for filming these YouTube videos, well, it came down to two choices: the much recommended Sigma 16mm f1.4 and the Sony 15mm f1.4G. I went for the Sony. I can't show you it right now because I'm filming this video with it, but I'll slip in some B-roll to show you what it looks like. Now, the main advantage that the Sony has here is the extra 1mm of width and a significant drop in size and weight. The Sigma is 415 grams. The Sony is 219 grams. That's literally half the weight. The Sigma is 72 by 90 millimeters, whereas the Sony is 66 by 69 millimeters. So basically the Sigma is also about 1.5 times bigger roughly in volume. On the flip side, the Sigma in the UK costs £389, whereas the Sony costs £749. So this time the Sony is double the cost. From a performance perspective, I can't personally compare the two. The Sony, however, has been great. Well, I think the picture comes out great, but you'll all be the better judge of that than me. On YouTube, the Sigma is widely recommended again, so I can only assume that both would be great options. But I wanted the smaller size of the Sony. It's lighter in handheld use, even though I don't film many of these videos handheld yet, and it is a touch wider at 15 versus 16 millimeters. But guess what? I really didn't want to pay almost double. But I managed to find what to my eyes is a very, very new looking second-hand version of the Sony on eBay. And the seller accepted my bid at £435, which was much easier to swallow than the £750. I love that it has an aperture dial. None of my other lenses have an aperture dial, but I would love one on every lens that I own. Now, I personally could have used the 16 to 55mm lens, the zoom lens for talking head videos, but I bought the 15mm before I bought the zoom, so I'm kind of stuck with both now. Now, the next is the best telephoto lens. Right off the bat, there are no fast, i.e. low aperture telephoto lenses for Sony APS-C. You'd have to go for one of the full frame lenses, and honestly, I'm not about to do that because they cost way, way, way too much. There was only really one choice, and that was the Sony 70 to 350mm f4.5 to 6.3 G lens. Now, it's the biggest lens that I own, but it's a lens that in full frame equivalent gives 105mm to a staggering 525mm range. It's not actually that big at all. The lens has optical steady shot to help keep the camera shake to a minimum at the most zoomed in focal lengths. But because of the relatively slow aperture, this isn't going to be a lens that is great in low light. You'd also think that the slow aperture would mean less bokeh. But actually, this lens has some phenomenal bokeh because it is a telephoto. It also doesn't do that badly in low light. Check out this photo that I took of the moon, literally pointing the camera out of my bedroom window on a tripod and zooming in to the full 350mm. Not bad. The lens is super sharp, even when zoomed in to the full 350mm, and the subject separation from the background is also fantastic. I haven't been out on a safari yet. I might have to wait a while before my kids are a bit older, but this lens is going to come really handy when taking pictures of the kids when they're running around or on rides at theme parks. The autofocus is lightning fast when paired with the a6700, and it literally does not skip a beat. Honestly, I love using this lens so much, I literally look for any excuse to bring this thing out. Onto the nifty-fifty, the all-purpose 50mm lens, the one lens that you're told to get for street photography. Also, one of the best lenses to actually learn how to be a better composer for your photos, as its focal length is similar to what the human eye sees, and it kind of forces you to zoom with your feet. As a prime lens, it's also quite small, so good to whack on the camera as an all-day walkabout lens when you don't want to carry much with you. To get 50mm equivalent focal length in APS-C, you'd need a 33.33mm lens, which doesn't exist, but there are two which are close. The Sony 35mm f1.8 equivalent to a 52.5mm in full frame, and the Sigma 30mm f1.4 equivalent to 45mm in full frame. Now, I wanted to get the Sigma and was ready to pull the trigger, but a couple of weeks back I saw a deal for the Sony 35mm new for £200, and I honestly couldn't ignore that. Having spent so much on the 16 to 55mm and the 15mm and the 70 to 350mm, for that matter, I thought it best to exercise some frugality, lest my wife come for my head. Now, honestly, in all honesty, I never used the Sigma, and whilst people say that it's sharper, I'm not at all disappointed with the Sony lens. Now, I don't have a ton of shots with it that I don't have my kids in, but the few that I have here give you an idea of how lovely and sharp the lens is. And the bokeh is absolutely lovely. It also has OSS, which helps a little in keeping the shutter speed lower in low light. This is the default lens on my camera when it's dark, because it just seems to find light that doesn't exist. Now on to the tasty pancake lens. Now the pancake lens goes on the camera when I wouldn't normally keep a camera with me. It's a tiny lens. It's less than 2 centimeters thick once it's actually on the camera. This is the Sony 20mm f2.8. Now I did try the Viltrox chip lens, which is a very small lens, actually smaller than this, but it is made for full frame. And because it's made for full frame, by the time you've actually factored in the crop factor with APS-C, the lens becomes quite tight. And a lens like this, I kind of want to be able to take a selfie at arm's length with this lens on. This lens fits into a really small bag. It can literally be on the camera to go anywhere with me. And being able to take a selfie with my kids is very important. With the Viltrox, I would have needed about half a meter extra arm length to actually be able to take that selfie, because it just wouldn't work. So this is the lens I'm using, and it's the f2.8 20mm pancake lens from Sony, and it is absolutely tiny. It's got a very small focus ring, and other than that, it's been working very nicely. It allows me to take the camera with me pretty much wherever. You can see here that it fits into a really small sling bag without any worry at all. So that's the pancake lens that I carry. The next is the ultra wide lens. Now, the choice for me was probably quite easy. I was looking for the Sigma 10 to 18mm f2.8 lens. But having bought the Sony 16 to 55mm, basically a third of that focal range that the Sigma was going to be doing was covered by the Sony already. I've also already got a 15mm, so buying another lens for 10 to 14mm didn't really seem to make sense for me. So I thought maybe it's better to go for an ultra wide prime instead. And so I went for the Sony 11mm f1.8 lens. Now this lens is slightly smaller than the Sigma, which just helps with the portability. It has an AF/MF switch, which the Sigma lacks, and it has a focus hold button. But the main thing, it has a 1.8mm aperture, an f1.8 aperture versus the 2.8 aperture of the Sigma. And it's also a first-party lens, so I hopefully shouldn't run into the autofocus issues that I had with the Sigma 18 to 50. So that is the ultra-wide lens. Again, very small lens, a bit plasticky in build, not as nice as the other Sony lenses, which are the G lenses, but this still does the job very nicely. It's not 100% clear where I'm going to be using this, but my daughter's really into space, so I think doing some astrophotography for her will be really cool if we can ever get any clear skies in the UK. And the last is the portrait lens. Unfortunately, it didn't arrive in time for this video, but the only real choice for portrait lens is the Sigma 56mm f1.4. Now, I haven't used it. It is a really nice tiny lens again as well, so easy to carry around. It has a 56mm focal length in APS-C, which is equivalent to 85mm, and the f1.4 should give some really creamy bokeh. I will do videos for each of these with a bit more detail, a bit more in depth, and how I'm finding them, what the pictures look like over the course of the next few months. So expect to see a bit more detail on all of these lenses in the very near future. Well, if you've enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button, and if you would, consider subscribing to see more of me in the future. Hope you've had a great day. Hope you've enjoyed the video, sorry, and have a nice day. Thanks.